Welcome to the Tone Lounge Podcast, the definitive music industry and gear podcast with Jonathan Gilmet and Frank Fleckenstein.
What's up, guys? Good morning, good day, good evening, good night, and welcome to the Tone Lounge Podcast. I'm Frank, I'm your host, and together with my wonderful co-host, the Duke of Voxington, Sir Jonathan Gilmet, we welcome you. We don't have a guest for this episode, which is episode number 37, but there's always stuff that we can talk about. There's always interesting stuff going on or controversial stuff going on. So that's one of those episodes. We're still working on getting a few guests. There might actually be a chance we have a pretty high profile guest in the next coming of weeks. I'm not going to say who it is, but I've been in touch with him and looks very positive.
Even very, I don't know.
Exactly. I'm going to tell you offline. I'm going to tell you afterwards.
Cool.
But
at least I'll know. You know,
it's going to be a really cool episode. That one, 100%. There's some housekeeping to do before we get into things. The first thing that I would like to announce that next episode, we are finally going to make another, like a last attempt to, to give away the two pedals that we're trying to give away for like 10 years now, which are amazing pedals. I mean, come on, it's a limited edition pink Jupiter Effects Wallow, which at this point I don't think doesn't even sell new anymore.
No.
And it's a one-off color Arc of Tone by yours truly. So great pedals at a great value, and you can win them for free. The only thing you have to do is to be subscribed to this channel, and then when we pick your name, the next episode, just get in touch with us, and then we send you a pedal. You don't even have to pay the shipping, for Christ's sake. So
nothing. It's super simple. Let me just kind of lay down the foundation. We got, as Frank just said, two great pedals. So there's the Arc of Tone, which is a pedal we collaborated on. Then a pink Warlow. Now, if you don't know the Warlow, go watch the videos on YouTube. There's a shit ton of them. It's a fantastic pedal, especially if you're into doom stuff. It's great for that. So a rat and a big muff all rolled into one, but done to the Jupiter Effects kind of take on it. It's simple. Just you need to comment on this video so we can come back and pick a winner, which is going to make things really simple. Because if you want to win it, we have to know who you are. You have to be publicly subscribed to the channel, which means that if we go and look at your name, we have to see that you're publicly subscribed. You can subscribe on the day of or have been subscribed since we started. It doesn't matter. You just need to be subscribed to us. We pay for the shipping. We're not going to ask you for money. If we see any dipshits like scammers trying to get information off of you, it has to be Frank or I. We have a protocol for that, so you don't have to worry. You have two cool pedals. We're giving them away. Hello, do you want free shit or not? You know, we're doing this to say thank you for subscribing. We know the podcast is not that big yet, but we're super stoked to have people come in, leave some really cool comments all the time. Yeah. We love answering those comments and reading them. So if you want to be one of them, you can say hi in the comments, or you can leave a really elaborate comment. It doesn't matter. We'll pick someone from comments in this video. I hope that really clarifies for anyone having doubts. These guys want to give me something? Yes, we do. We've got two of them to give you. And we've been trying for almost a year. Come on, folks.
Yeah, probably for something like a year or something. I think we did I think we received the Wallow shortly after we did the episode with Chris, and that was like episode 12, 14, 13, something like that. So it's 20 episodes past.
It
was very early on. 100%. So yeah, that's one part of the housekeeping. The other thing regarding housekeeping is I'm going to use this very small forum of ours for some shameless self-promotion. So this week I've relaunched the website for FFX pedals, and Constantine guitars. So the whole thing is renamed and rebranded. It's called FFX Audio now because we also have guitars. We have some wonderful guitars here in the back.
Yep.
I've already sold a couple of those, and they went really fast, which I'm super happy about. And people are giving me amazing feedback. There's one feedback that just came in to the website today, which is the guy essentially said, like, I've had 60 plus boutique guitars in the past 25 years, and I have an original 62 Strat. And the guitar that I bought from you, if I can close my eyes, and the only difference I feel is that yours smells new because it's new, but the sound is like spot on. So that was like,
wow,
doesn't get any better. Nope. So if you go to ffxaudio.com, you'll find all the pedals, you'll find all the guitars, and we also have a section where I'm selling off some demo stock and some, I call them study clones. So when I was like studying a ton of circuits to find out how they work, what I did was I bought a lot of these like PCBs and, just looked at the circuit and built the circuit and looked what happened if I change things. And so these study clones, I put them into very simple enclosures. I'm selling them off for for niche. So like really almost nothing in comparison to the original. So there's some good deals on the website as well. That being said,
before you move on, I want to help you with the housekeeping.
Yes.
Anyone
please.
Not too familiar with the FFX pedal brand, you need to go check out first the All You Can Boost. I think that's like probably the flagship pedal. If I don't want to speak for you, but I think that's kind of like the one people should check out first.
Yeah.
It's not just a boost. I think our friend Henning kind of mentioned in one of his demos that it's the wrong name for it.
Yeah.
And I think he might be partly right because you can do like volume boost, more of a preamp thing with the EQ. It can be an EQ. If you start to mess with it, you can do overdrive and fuzz. I mean, I don't know how the hell you came up with that circuit, but it is, I think, the gateway into all the other pedals that you make. Also, for anyone wondering, now we're still called the Tone Lounge here for the podcast, and I used to have the Tone Lounge main YouTube page, but that's changed to TL Toneworks, meaning Tone Lounge Toneworks. So now these two names are they're in a similar ecosystem, but they're different now because I wanted the Tone Lounge to be this here, what we're doing, and what was previously the Tone Lounge, which is my YouTube channel, to become something else because I'm also launching a company at some point where I'm going to be doing like presets for the HX Stomp, for the Tone X, for Camper, and all this stuff. So that's for later. At some point, I'm going to be talking about here and give the audience kind of a glimpse into where I'm going with that. But if you're looking for the Tone Lounge now on YouTube, you're just going to find this podcast, which I think is really going to isolate the search queries for this and make it more easy to find the podcast episodes instead of going through my ugly mug on my other channel and going like, I'm confused. Which one is which? Now you got the podcast being its own entity. So that's really all I wanted to say. It just, since there's been a rebranding of the YouTube channel, I just wanted to help people know the distinction between both of them. They're still kind of in the same world, but now the podcast is really its own thing. Well, that's really all I had to say. So let's move forward.
Let's move forward. So let me just share my screen so we can both look at the. Oh, that wasn't the right one.
Oh, that was the porn one.
There you go.
It's business porn.
Okay, can you see that?
I see that, but it's really, really small.
Oh, why is that?
I'm not sure. That's what she said.
Yeah. Oh, yes.
I'm in one of those moods today. You're going to have to put up with me. I'm sorry.
Okay. I don't know why why the hell? This might be me using the native the native version.
Huh?
Okay, that's probably as big as I can get it.
That's what he said.
That's what he said. Oh, maybe I can. Let me just check if I can.
Perhaps Control and Scroll might make it bigger, or Control Plus.
Yeah, not really.
Maybe in post editing you can get that screen to be a bit bigger.
Probably. I'd probably have to do that. Anyways, but you can, but you can see
I can still see. Yeah.
what we're dealing with here, right? Okay.
Yeah.
So Tone King came up with the new Imperial preamp, which essentially is, so we've seen a couple of pedals coming from Friedman and that was last year, I guess, where they put the brown eye platform into a pedal. And they also made one, what was it called? They made one for an artist as well, and they made one for the Betty.
But Buxom Betty.
Like that. So yeah, different versions of that. And since Tone King and Friedman and Soldano, they're all under the hood of Boutique Amp Distribution, that's like the next logical step, I suppose, where they come up with the Imperial preamp. And I've seen a couple of demos around the pedal, and it's quite impressive because it's essentially like a very, very nice clean platform, and then goes into like certain type of breakup. It's all like California style, clean California style breakup, so it goes into that territory. But the sounds I've heard so far are pretty amazing, and price wise, it's all in the same ballpark. So this is listed for $600 US. It's probably around the same, or maybe like a little bit more in Europe. I don't know how much it is in Canada. $1
million. With inflation and the tariffs, I don't know. It's probably expensive.
Damn. Yeah. Damn. So yeah. What does it say? The Imperial All-Tube preamp delivers Tone King's legendary MK2 amplifier, 50s tweed, 60s blackface, and vintage British rock tones in a compact pedalboard-friendly format. It features the exact preamp section and phase inverter circuitry of the Imperial MK2 amp, as well as reverb, tremolo, and an attenuation. Oh, okay. Powered by 3 12AX7 preamp tubes. And then obviously you have the obvious, you have the IR loader built in, so you can just go ahead and plug that thing right into the front of house or your recording console, your audio interface, and you essentially have like an amp in a certain way.
Yeah, and maybe important to mention the IRs are own hammer. So a lot of people buy those when they want to have third-party IRs. A lot of the criticism that comes from that, or maybe not criticism, but more like an observation, is that those IRs tend to be a bit dark sounding. So a lot of demos that I watched, people were cranking up the treble quite high to get it to cut through. Okay. So that's I don't know. Is there a possibility of uploading your own IRs, or do you have to work with those?
I think there is. So here it says impulse response, IR cabinet, and power amp simulation. Yeah, that's especially evident in the 15 included own hammer-made IRs. Okay. Yeah, but you can also so there is an editor software that Friedman is also using, and that Soldano is using as well for the for some of their latest products. So for the Astro 20 head, for example, they have one.
Okay, yeah.
And there you can also you like load in your own IRs and just use those.
Okay, that makes sense.
So that, yeah, definitely makes sense. That was one of the things that caught my attention this week. The other thing, let me just find that here. The other thing that also I found to be very nice is this thing. So that's something that I found on Gear Gods. This is the an anniversary edition of Ampeg's SGT DI preamp and DI unit.
Okay.
Like with the blue line sort of blue line silver theme on the front. And first of all, when I saw this, I wasn't really surprised about this. I was surprised to hear something from Ampeg because I haven't heard shit from Ampeg in a long time. No, but really,
fair enough. No, I agree.
I was okay, Ampeg is coming up with something new. That's interesting.
Well, I mean, in my opinion, they do have one of the most iconic bass amps in rock history, which is the Ampeg SVT. And I'm looking at the color scheme of this particular pedal, and it seems to be alluding to like those early Ampeg models. So I'm really curious to hear what it sounds like, because I mean, personally, I've always been a big fan of like an Ampeg growl. If I can find it, I'll send you a picture so you can show it here. But I used to own a 69 Ampeg SVT with the matching 8x12 cabinet.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And I have a 71 or 72 Rickenbacker leaning against it with my Marshall and Fender. Like I used to have some really killer gear, but back then it was garbage and I picked it up for next to nothing. So if I can find the picture, I'll send you that. Even at some point I had two of those cabinets, two of the 8x10s with the head, which was complete overkill for like a young 15, 16-year-old guitar player. But I mean, now you get it in this form factor, which I think makes a little more sense. It's probably less expensive too.
And as far as I can see, and as far as I read through the article, it's like everything's going into like the same sort of direction. So essentially, here it says the Blue Line SGTDI bass preamp delivers an enhanced super grid technology overdrive circuit featuring iconic Ampeg SVT and B15 voices, versatile 3-band EQ now with sweepable mids, ultra high and 3-way ultra low switches. I always loved those on the original amp, like the ultra low switches and the ultra high. You could keep the mids where they were. It was just like bam in your face. And a variable compressor, so it also has a compressor in there, an aux headphone section. Even better, it offers the first IR loader cap simulator from Ampeg. So that's why I said it's going in the same direction. It comes with 6 preloaded Ampeg factory cap IRs, 3 of which may be replaced with your own. There you go. So imagine, we live in a time where portability is everything, and people travel and play and gig and tour with like such small setups because everything's going straight to the board and things have to be like easy to set up. That there you go. You have your bass player playing through this thing right into the front of house. The other guy plays the Imperial. The other guy plays the Friedman. Whatever the band sort of setup is like. But it's like everything's going into the same sort of direction, which is interesting. And obviously, technology moves forward. It's also it's also kind of frightening at the same time because I'm already missing stacks and 4x12s on stage.
Yeah, but I think that's a generational thing.
Yeah, it is.
It's been pointed out a few times, like some of the younger crowd that go there and they don't give a shit about your big, ugly tube amp. We do. I mean, I love going to a show and seeing the amps there. But last show I went to was Rammstein, and there was no amp to be seen on stage whatsoever. Exactly, and it sounded great. Like I wasn't bothered by the fact there were like no big tube amps in the background. Like that wasn't an issue for me. I was just focusing on the band, having a great time. And if you can sound half as good, and I'm really quantifying it this way, like half as good as an actual amp with these things, and not have to bother with carrying the 8x10 cabinet and the big like 150-pound fucking head with tubes in it. I mean, why not?
Yeah,
it makes sense, especially for like modern musicians who are getting paid peanuts if they get paid at all.
Yeah,
that seems like a viable solution.
Yeah, 100%. It totally makes sense to me. And you can get this thing for like $400. Imagine,
Yeah.
400 bucks versus buying an amp that's definitely more expensive, definitely heavier. Buying a cab that's definitely more expensive, it's definitely heavier.
Yep.
And there you go. And then you have to carry all that stuff. And here you just put this thing on the board and you add whatever you need in terms of, you know, like effects pedals or whatever you as a bass player you need. And you're good to go.
Yep.
You know, it's like the only thing that's that's the only downside that I really see is not everybody is walking around with in-ears. You know, there are people who still rely on the monitor system, like front monitors, front stage monitors, and that, depending on the band, can become an issue because, you know, the bass player wants to hear himself, the guitar player, and let's face it, there are clubs out there that have amazing monitor systems, and there are clubs that have shitty ones where the only one who gets a monitor is the singer.
That's true, and I don't think the companies are really taking that into consideration, because I've played like really big venues with even an engineer on the stage that could mix the band so that the in-ears or your wedges on the floor were to your liking, and then there was a guy out there for front of house. And I've played the places where you get there and they tell you there's a sound system, and you get there and there's a shit fucking small PA with one microphone. And you're like, where do I plug into? We're just going to have to lower the voice and the crowd's going to have to get close to the stage. And you're like, oh yeah, it's one of those gigs, huh? I played both extremes. And if you show up with this thinking you're going to plug into the board and there's like 2 inputs and the singer's got his mic and his guitar already in there, good luck. You know, really. It's not everyone that's playing like these world-class venues where they have these great systems.
Yeah, exactly.
mean, if everyone kind of goes the same way musicians are going, maybe like most bars and clubs are going to catch up and having better sound systems, so that way the volume comes down on stage.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Yeah, it's true. Which brings me to number 3 in terms of like product releases. Jim Dunlop offers an extensive look at the Mick Ronson wah pedal. For everybody who's not familiar with the name Mick Ronson, he's known for his work with David Bowie.
Yep.
And now Dunlop is offering a pretty extensive, and from what I've heard, a pretty expensive in-depth look at
that's important.
Yeah, at the Dunlop Mick Ronson signature Crybaby pedal. He must be like the 20th person that has a signature Crybaby.
Yeah,
it's like
that sounds about right. Yeah.
Yeah. It's modeled after Ronson's own Crybaby wah pedal, an early Italian-made model that stands alone when it comes to tone. Okay, that's a bold statement. But essentially what this description is saying is right, because a close friend of mine, he is absolutely crazy for wah pedals, and he buys like different wah pedals and can explain to me exactly how they sound different and what's on the inside that makes them sound different. And so you get into that topic with him, and it's like he's absolutely crazy about these wah pedals. I think he has like 4 or 5 of these old Italian ones, because he is convinced that those are the best. And since components were a lot less accurate in their values back then, you know, they had a tolerance of up to 20% sometimes. Obviously, it can happen, and that's the same thing that happens with Tube Screamers and all the other pedals that were built around the same time.
Yeah.
Although, obviously, like these crybabies were built in like in the 60s and 70s. But the same principle applies. You might have a tube screamer that just sounds amazing, and there are tube screamers out there that don't sound that great, and that's because of component tolerance. So, and here it says, Dunlop created a custom inductor that replicates the higher frequency response and subtler peak of the original pedal. There's also period-accurate low-gain transistors and value-matched resistors that contribute to a truly distinctive EQ curve. So that's essentially what they're doing. They're recreating the tolerance, the component tolerances of that wah pedal. And you can have it for like only $250. Damn.
Okay, it's not... I was expecting a little steeper, because usually these signature pedals, some of them, like you have the Jerry Cantrell, I think that was the Dime had one too. I'm probably forgetting a shit ton of them. There's Jimi Hendrix, of course. So
it's $299. It's $299 in Europe. So
€299. Yeah.
Damn.
I mean, for a wah, like your buddy there, that's a big fan of wahs. Maybe someone who's really into wahs, something like that would be something they would gravitate towards. I found my wah a few years ago. I barely ever use one, but this one here, if you want to get like that stupid wah face, that's the pedal I like to step on, because all the others, they get scratchy in the top end. I don't like. They roll off too much low end. And I found one like a year ago where I was like, that's the one. The quest has stopped. I'm not looking for anything else. I figured it out. But there's other people out there who collect wahs, most likely, like some other people do tube screamers and, Klons and Klon clones and stuff. So maybe there's a market for it. I mean, I love the guitar player whose pedal is based on. I think he's done some amazing riffs with David Bowie. I can't really pinpoint anything where he uses the wah in a traditional sense. So he's probably using it maybe to filter certain frequencies and have like that parked wah sound, because I can't really remember him being like the Kirk Hammett of the 1970s or anything. So wow, wow, wow. Like I don't remember that from him. So,
but I just out of interest, I just went to. So I'm on Thomann for everybody who's listening and not watching. I'm on Thomann.com because that's where I found the price of $299 for that wah pedal, and just to see like what's the most expensive wah pedal. And obviously the Dunlop Rack Crybaby is still the most expensive one, because essentially it's a rack mount unit where you can like throw controllers all over the place on stage and like have access the unit, and you have like you can fine tune the frequencies and whatnot. So obviously that's the most expensive one. I think this one, like building this one, has to be a total pain.
Yeah.
And then afterwards, so this one is $850, which is like, okay, if you have a wah pedal, that costs $850. Well, essentially you get 4 wah pedals because you can connect up to 4 controllers with this one. And then afterwards, at $399 is the full tone super wah. So that Mick Ronson wah is not the most expensive one. And what else do we have? The Beatronic Zombie, although that's more like an LFO sort of wah. I don't think it has a controller. Then the Richie Kozen signature wah, which is a Tech 21. And then we get the first Vox wah, which is the real McCoy. Damn. Yeah, very expensive though. I always wanted
there's a lot of really expensive wahs when you consider it, and it depends on what you're into. I know those Vox wah, they go for quite a lot of money, especially the vintage ones.
Oh yeah.
If you want to go for like a really great wah, but not have to fork out a lot of money, the Carl Martin 2 wah is
Yeah.
like really cool for that, because it says 2 wah because you can pivot between 2 different voicings, but there's really 6 wah into that pedal, and it's all analog as far as I know. There's like no digital components to it.
Right.
And if you're like not settled on wah whatsoever and you're looking for something where you can experiment to really figure out what is the type of wah that you like, that Carl Martin, I don't know how much it sells for, and I don't know if Carl Martin still has any business with Thomann, but I know that personally I had that one for a while.
Yeah.
And it's really good for the price point. 6 different sounds. You can pivot between 2 of them, and you can get a really wide range of tones. But if you're super specific about what you want, that's probably where the Mick Ronson or, Dream Theater, or pick like the band or the guitar player.
But I noticed something else, which is interesting. So I look at Vox, for example, and they all go for made like the original Clyde wah and blah blah. So they're all trying to be as classic wah pedally as possible. True to some of the originals. And then here starts like the Dunlop road. So you have the Dunlop Justin Chancellor wah, which is more like the Tool, the bass player of Tool, and there's a bass wah. And then you go down and you have like Sepultura 40th anniversary. So that's the Andreas Kisser signature wah. Then you have the Mick Ronson one. Then you have the Kirk Hammett one. Well, we're talking about Kirk Hammett. And then we have the Daredevil one, which is another sort of like corporation. So that like it's all signatures, all artist based. Then you go down and you have like, okay, Vox vintage wah and the real McCoy again, blah, blah, blah. And then again, Dunlop, Jerry Cantrell, John Petrucci. Who else? Dimebag. Another Kirk Hammett signature wah. Damn, yes, 2.
Of course.
Zach
one for each foot.
Zach Wild. Then I've heard good things about that one as well. The Dunlop, the Audio Electronics MC404. I've heard good things about that one, which is like essentially like the Bob Bradshaw sort of modified version of it.
That's the one I have. That's the wah. That's the one I have. I couldn't remember the name of it because I really suck with remembering names. But that's the model I was saying to you that's the wah I figured out that I like. Nice. That's the one I own. Yeah.
Nice. What else? No, that's it. Oh no, Slash. Let's not forget about Slash. Slash also has a signature with Dunlop, and so on and so forth. So it's like it's interesting. It's interesting, like the different approaches. Whereas, like there are companies who try to be as close to some of the originals, like the 60s and 70s wahs, and then Dunlop has a few of those, but they're mostly focused on artists and selling their wah pedals through artists.
Yeah. And I don't know if anyone listening to this has any experience with Morley pedals, but I've been looking for years to get another one. I used to own the Bad Horsey 2.
Oh, yeah.
And I fucking love that one, dude. It's like there's no pots to talk of. Like you step on it, you're in wah mode. You step off, you're back to your normal tone. And I would gladly pick another one of those up. I know there's the version 1 and version 2. I'm not sure what the differences are, but Morley has been in the wah game for years, and we're still mainly focusing on Dunlop. And I'm not taking anything away from Dunlop, but Morley has some fucking killer wah pedals, and we musicians tend to forget that. So I don't know if anyone listening has any experience with it, but share it with us, because I can't be the only guy who, when I think wah, I think, but what about Morley? They're fucking awesome.
They did some great stuff. I think the difference between the two versions of the Bad Horsey are that with the second one, you were able to actually adjust the shutoff time. So you step off the pedal and then you were able to say, okay, but stay active for like another second or like half a second or something. I think that was adjustable. I'm not 100% sure, but I think it was like more customizable as far as that goes. All right, let's move away from the world of was. And one thing I wanted to talk about is like we're looking at all these things, companies coming up with new products, and there's every week, there are like product releases because apparently that's the way to stay relative in this industry and people talking about you. And at the same time, we are seeing that the whole thing and the whole industry is still in some sort of a downward spiral.
Yeah.
And last week, we found out that two of Europe's biggest music retailers had to close shop. Starting with Bax Music. And I know that for a lot of people, maybe in the US, this might not, be a name. Who else is Bax Music? But Bax Music was quite big and it was quite aggressive, especially like around 10 years ago. They were super aggressive trying to enter the European market, trying to, steal market share from everyone, even from guys like Thomann, where you think like, how are you going to mess with Thomann? But they were like really aggressive pricing. And the whole thing was investor based. So obviously, at some point, they had to open more locations. They had like before they filed for bankruptcy last week, they had 6 locations all over Benelux and the north of France. So they're not small. They're definitely not small. But yet, last week they filed for bankruptcy, which is which is definitely going to leave a hole in. I mean, it's great maybe for some of the other retailers in that region, but it's definitely a sign that things are not going well at this point. The article says, times aren't good for musical instrument companies. While some, like Gibson and Schecter, are going strong, others have to close shop because of bad sales figures, debt, and the like. Last year, Sam Ash had to auction off its assets due to a failing business. We spoke about that as well. And Sam Ash, also like a company, has been in the business for decades, going bankrupt. And here it says, one of Europe's largest musical instrument retailers, Bax Music, has declared bankruptcy by the Netherlands' Zeeland West Brabant court. Last week, the company filed for suspension of payments and ultimately came to this fatal moment for its business. Bax Music has 6 stores in the Netherlands and Belgium and an online store that serves Europe, but this didn't save them from debts and money owed to different creditors, among them the Dutch tax authority. And here's one thing that definitely bite them in the ass. And one thing that happened is during the COVID pandemic, a lot of countries and a lot of institutions, financial institutions, gave struggling businesses a tax break or some other incentive to stay afloat. The problem is those had to be paid back at some point. And so like we had the beginning of the pandemic, all these companies get supported by their respective governments. And then like when the pandemic sort of like softened a little bit, we had this huge peak in sales because people had too much money floating around and everybody was buying shit. And then that whole thing went down again. And that's when the government came around and said, hey, remember, you got to pay us back some money. Yeah.
That's unfortunate. Exactly. It makes me wonder though, like we're seeing such a move for globalization, not necessarily on a cultural level, but more for businesses. Like businesses want to have more reach. They want to be able to be accessible for everyone. Mm-hmm. Like if I want to, I can go on Thomann. I can order anything. They'll ship it out in Canada, in the US, anywhere. And I'm sure if we were to look at all the like the math that goes behind it, we would find that they have to take a hit somewhere in order to be so competitive. It's not like the whole world wants to order from X company in a like other country when they can buy locally. So I'm wondering Is part of their demise due to the fact that they were trying to expand beyond the demand for their services? Or is this just due really to events like COVID, the whole world being right now more judicious with their purchases, so there's less people buying musical instrument because this is seen more as a pastime as opposed to having as much disposable income as we used to have maybe 10 years ago. So in your opinion, what do you think are the contributing factors that are getting these companies to start closing shop? Because we have this in Canada. There's a few companies here. They're nowhere near as big as these guys, but they're starting to close their shops. And it's sad to see that the bigger companies get talked about, but some of the smaller companies are going away and no one sees it coming. Like they couldn't foresee these companies just going out of business. What do you think are like the main elements contributing to this?
I guess it depends on who you ask, because everybody seems to have a different view on this. My view is actually very simple. I see it as the industry not learning from its mistakes. I think I've said that in the past as well. Like 15 years ago, we had a super high with the demand of electric guitars because we had more music that was around electric guitars and basically instruments. And we had around the same time, we also had a huge high with ukuleles. Like people, stores were selling ukuleles like bread. Like it was unbelievable. And instead of like, okay, let's be realistic. This is going to, wear off at some point. It's going to go down again. People start to invest heavily into serving the market without a proper forecast. They're forecasting things that are not there and that are never going to come.
Yeah.
And that's my personal view. And we had the same thing. And I thought, like, during COVID, people would have, remember that. Oh, remember what happened 15 years ago? We shouldn't do the same thing. But they did the same thing. Companies started producing like crazy. No, we have to meet the demand. And at some point, there was a moment where a company like Fender had so much stock and they weren't able to, like, it didn't make any more sense to produce instruments, that they had to let go of 300 people.
And that's not small. Like for some people that might hear 300 and they're going to go like, yeah, so what? But in this industry, 300 people
is a lot.
Being let go that's a lot of fucking people.
And why am I saying it depends on who you ask? So in this article, one of the like co-founders and shareholders who was like pushed out last year over a dispute with the board of his business partner, which is his brother, I think. So, and he said it went wrong since Corona. Then professionals stopped performing. We received Corona support at the time, but of course it still had to be paid back. And there's one thing that doesn't make sense to me, and that's why I said it depends on who you ask. He said then professionals stopped performing. The percentage of people who can call themselves professional that go to buy in a store is, I would say, below 5%. People who make money, who make a living with music, and they go to buy stuff in the store. And they're also not buying stuff all the time. They're buying stuff when they need it, which is not every month or every 2 months. They usually buy stuff that lasts because, they're playing a lot. So the stuff has to be reliable. And that's why it doesn't make sense to me. It's like saying that, well, professionals stopped performing. Yeah, they did. But professionals are not the main part of your business. Like the people that go to buy into the shop are people who have some available funds to spend it on stuff that they're going to do at home or with their pals on a jam session or in a band that is more like a hobby, you know?
Yeah.
So
there's a question that I have towards this, and I'm not really looking for an answer. It's more of a thought exercise, if you will. I'm looking at different, because I love marketing. I love the whole aspect of understanding a certain market, right? I'm not an expert. I'm just an amateur kind of looking at this. But it seems like the music industry is really an island on its own. It's not connected to the mainland, so it has its own thing going. So whenever you have investors that come in and want to tap into this market and they're like, oh, this market needs a boost, let's figure it out. Companies are owned by these big enterprises for a few months, a few years, and then it gets sold. And everyone's kind of throwing it like a hot potato. No one wants to hold on to it because even these experts in their field come in and they have no fucking clue what's going on with the music industry. It's floating, but no one really understands how it floats, right? And where I'm going with this is that if you're looking at, like, let's say you open up a shop today and you're just going to sell porcelain and china and all this stuff, and you have your own little boutique downtown, you can't be expecting people to come in and buying this stuff all the fucking time. Because this is the kind of thing where you buy it once, it's super expensive, and then you put it aside and it becomes a heirloom for your kids at some point and your grandkids, and they're going to be like, oh yeah, that's a china set they bought a long time ago. You're not buying this shit every month. But with guitars, there's some of them can be super expensive, and guitar players are like, oh, I got this great Les Paul on the wall, but I want one in purple. Then they get a purple one. And then they want a Strat, but they don't want like any Strat. They want a very specific custom shop made Strat. So these guys are buying a lot of shit, but it's not everyone buying this stuff. It's the people that have the income to be able to, get the custom shop to open the doors in the morning. If these guys are starting to hold back and go, ooh, might not get that lime green Les Paul I wanted this year because, I got 15 of them in the basement, so I don't really need one. Then all of a sudden the custom shop is going, do we have anything today? Nope. What are we going to do? Fuck if I know. It's a really weird niche thing that you don't see in other businesses. Like, no one goes out and says, I have a Nike shirt here, but I really want it custom made by Jose at this one shop, and I'm willing to pay him top dollar so he puts holes in my shirt so it looks distressed because I like the patina on the shirt. It doesn't happen. It's unique to the instrument business. You see what I mean?
That's true.
It's kind of weird that it even stays alive. So I don't know. It's very confusing.
Yeah. To me as well. And the whole thing that you said about investors, it's also weird that investors would actually get themselves involved in this industry, because one look at the average margin of products should be enough to be like, oh no, I'm out. I'm gonna invest in consumer electronics or like Bluetooth headphones. There's more margin in those than because the companies that are still healthy are usually the companies that look at return of investment very strategically, and they look at, okay, we are going to invest this. What is the outcome going to be? And if the outcome is not close to anything that's like triple, 4 times, 5 times, 6 times the investment, they're not even bothering with it. Whereas in this industry, is like if you live off 20-25% margins, what are you going to do? It's weird. And here comes the other thing that Johann Bachs, the former CEO, said despite this setback, Bachs seems determined to restart the company in some form. While he recently left Bachs Music board after a dispute, he is still one of the major shareholders, which is true. And as the Telegraph, that's one of the local newspapers, reports, he claims there are investors interested in making the stream a reality. Are you kidding me? It's like after this, after 6 locations, the whole thing like coming down like a house of cards, he thinks that there are investors that are going to give him money to relaunch this thing. Is he? I think it's
a hard sell.
Yeah. Why would you? Yeah. It's super weird.
I don't know. It seems to me like if you tried a certain model and it didn't really pan out, why would you think relaunching the exact same thing works? That's kind of like being with your partner and he or she cheats on you. The whole relationship falls apart, and then like 2 months later you go, you know what? Fuck it. Let's get back together. I'm sure I can make it work this time.
Yeah. Yeah.
What?
But this is obviously like every story. It's like 2 stores in 1 week that had to close shop, but the stories couldn't be different. So if we take a look at the other shop, so this shop's called GAC. That is the Guitar and Keyboard Center, long. A store that has been open since 1992, so also like long standing. And it was acquired in 2021 with the aim of expanding the business and its online presence. Website is offline, and the store is closed for maintenance, which is like weird. The thing is, there's still a lot of speculation, but a good friend of mine from the industry said they're closed, they're shut down. There's nothing.
Oh yeah.
There's nothing you can do really. And there's this one YouTuber, I forgot his name. He's this Irish dude with the long hair. You also mentioned him once. The guy who always does this like journalist investigative stuff.
Yeah. I forget his name too.
Yeah.
Isn't it like something like KHDM or something like that?
Something like that. Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
So he actually did like a more in-depth piece of it where he was looking at numbers that they published around their like total revenue, but then put into relation with the cost of selling. So cost of selling meaning you have to buy product, you have to employ people that sell the product, you have to have some logistics in place, you have people that run the online shop, you have to pay rent for the facilities and everything. That's all considered the cost of selling. And then afterwards, and they made like I don't know, something like 30 million a year or something. And then what's left afterwards, or what was left afterwards, was like 20K or something. Which is like, what?
Whoa.
How do you even live off that? I'm not 100% precise on the number, but I'm going to link to the video in the description so you can, because it's really well done. But it's like, when is this going to end? Who's the next guy?
If we take cues from the former owner of Bax, the guy should shut down the doors and reopen GAC, but paint the building green. Yeah, I'm sure that would work.
Yeah.
This time we figured it out.
Yeah, definitely. Damn, man. Yeah.
It's scary because these are not the exceptions. Like these are not exactly like isolated case. This is becoming a trend, a reality for a lot of businesses.
Yeah, it's true.
And maybe we should keep this for like an eventual video we should do and just kind of nerd out and just go down, because I think you and I are very like-minded on this. We don't just look at the gear, we look at the industry, we look at why certain things function a certain way. And what I'm wondering is if we're going to see the death of not only the mom and pop shop, but also the bigger companies like Sam Ash and like Long and McQuaid and Guitar Center and places like that. Is it inevitable? Are we heading for a collision with like a concrete wall, but at super slow motion. So we get to see this disaster happen week by week, month by month. And we're just going to keep talking about this throughout our podcast just because it's inevitable. And if like there's nothing that can steer this car in another direction, what's left? What will the landscape of the music business look like? Are we going to be direct to consumer instead of like business to business? Is it going to be business to consumer? Is that going to be the future? Is it going to be to downsize and stop trying to reach out to everybody and have more of a local enterprise, like just a small shop that sells locally and there's no like worldwide thing going on? Like you can buy it online and we'll ship it anywhere in the world. Are people going to have to peel back a bit on these new standards that they've set just so that they can stay afloat? Or maybe we're missing something that we don't see and other people are more tuned into that, and perhaps some people are going to comment and say, I think this is going in this direction or whatever. But right now I'm like seeing a really slow motion car crash and I'm like, okay, we know how this ends, but what comes after? How is the industry going to survive this shit?
Yeah, that's what I'm asking myself as well. And I feel like, and this is obviously it's a feeling mixed with some speculations. I feel like what we're seeing right now is like it's separating, the good ones from the bad ones. And I don't mean that in a negative way, in like, those are the bad guys that did bad shit, and that's why, they deserve to go out of business. That's not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is there are people, like, if you look at BACS, this whole thing was investor-based. Investors want a return on their investment. If they don't get a return on their investment, at some point they're like, we're not giving you any more money. And I think it's a mixture between that and obviously that they had outstanding debts especially with the Dutch government, and that led to this situation. And also, from what I've heard from people that I know in the industry, they were always kind of late with payments, and they weren't always very, very reliable, and they were kind of disorganized as well. So it was always difficult with them. We look at GAC, and we just read that their plan was to expand the business. And they do that because there's a certain pressure to expand, because you have guys because they're UK based. In the UK, you have guys like Guitar, and you have Andertons who are growing. They're growing their business with different strategies. Like Andertons is big on social media and on YouTube, and Guitar has also been expanding in different directions. The thing is that there are companies that they want to grow and they make it happen and they make it right. And there are companies that want to grow and they're going into the wrong direction. And I think what we're going to see is when the worst part is over, we are going to be left with those who still who are still going well at this point, which is obviously guys like Toman and whatnot. And on the other end of that, you're going to have guys who didn't want to grow. They were like, hey, this is what I'm doing inside a year, and I'm fine with that. I don't need to grow that number because I'm living great, have a great standard of living. I can pay my bills. I can pay my employees. Why would I risk that by investing a lot of money into something that might not give me the return, or might not grow that number? Or at what cost am I growing that number? If like next year something happens and I can't pay my employees anymore. So it's a little bit, I think it's going to go a little bit into that direction.
It seems like all these different companies are having very different issues, but the outcome is the same. So it's not a one unifying problem that is completely crashing these big enterprises. No. It seems to be financial education, which some may not have, a lack of system. Because when you want to expand, if you don't have a system, it's really hard to be able to say, hey, I'm going to open 10 shops. Yeah, but if all 10 shops don't run the same way as the first initial shop, you have different managers with different values and, they don't pay the bills and all this shit. If it's not structured, it's going to fall apart. If you take something like McDonald's, if you are like, hey, I want to start a McDonald's. Yeah, what you're buying is not the McDonald name. You're buying their system. And you have to implement it. And if you don't implement it, they'll let you fucking know.
Yes.
But if, let's say, you open up your first music store, you've been around for 30 years, you know how to run that shop, but it's kind of hanging by like the skin of your teeth, if you will. It's not something you can expand into something bigger because this one here is successful, but in order to open up a second, a third, a fifth shop, you really need to have them run exactly the same. And a lot of people start businesses, I'm part of that, and we don't know what the fuck we're doing. We're trying to figure it out, but we don't have a system. We don't have the education on the finances. Like, you have to be able to keep up with your financial books. If you don't pay your bills, if you're always fucking late, maybe you should hire someone that can do that. But some people want to do it all. And what ends up happening is that everything crumbles because they can't be good at everything. They don't have a great team working with them. Now, if you have all that, if you figured it out, you got your system, you got a great team, what else can fucking destroy your company? That's what I'm wondering. Is there something afoot, like something worldwide that's happening that's killing all these business? Or is it because of social media that we're paying more attention to it now? And then we're going, oh shit, they're dying. Is anyone replacing them? Or are they going the way of the dodo bird?
Yeah. It's a good question. I think only time will tell. There are still people out there that do an amazing job, and they sort of have a core product range that they're serving to their audience, and maybe tapping into new audiences. And if they see that expanding that makes sense for them on the long run, they do it. And I think that's clever, but there's still going to be people that jump on everything because they think, it's going to expand their business by like 100, like multiplied by 100. It's not going to happen because there are so many variables in this industry that are connected with macro economics and with things that are happening. And then, look at the tariff thing. It disrupts so many things, and it's gonna affect so many businesses in this industry. But well, tariffs is like a topic for like an entire episode, I guess. It's the most beautiful word, tariffs. I think we say God, and then tariffs, religion.
The world's smallest accordion.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
We can do 50%. He sounds like one of those Turkish guys in the bazaar. 50%. Come on. I give you 20. Terrible.
Nice.
Which brings me to, you think we're talking about like stores closings, like things can't.
That's a hard segue. Yeah, it's a hard segue, but we'll make it work.
We'll make it work. But when you think that things couldn't get worse for this industry, we still have one last thing for you. So we spoke about this like a little bit beforehand. There's this guy that everybody's like talking about these days. He's an Italian guitar player. His name is Giacomo Turra. I hope I did that the right way. So
that was close. I would have went with Giacomo. But, it's just
Giacomo Turra.
I don't know.
So, this guy is a pretty big deal on social media, and I feel like this is all we're hearing in the past couple of years. We're hearing about like all these guitar players and their respective Instagram follower base and what they do on YouTube and whatnot, and we've also seen all kinds of scandals around that. People speeding up their videos, recording them at a slower pace and then speeding them up so they look like they're playing amazing. But they have been called out by people who actually know their craft and know that it's fake. And all of that stuff, I always looked at that and I was like, okay, it's like you wanted the attention and you got called out for it, and well, that's what you get. Now everybody thinks you're an idiot. But this thing has been like, this is so blatantly terrible that I'm fine with people speeding up stuff because I look at it and it's like, okay, it sounds shitty anyway, so next one. But this guy, so he's super big on social media, has like over 700,000 people following him on Instagram, 250,000 followers on YouTube. He actually had a signature model with D'Angelico. He just did interviews with Andertons, with Fender. It's like all kinds of stuff. He was invited to NAMM, so he was doing pretty well. And then it turns out that most of his songs, probably the majority of his songs, were actually just ripped off from other people's arrangements. And not only that, he wasn't crediting the original arranger or composer. He did that afterwards when he was called out for it, because like some time ago, some of the guitarists that he was stealing from, guys like Jack Gardiner, and a couple of other guys who really have a reputation of like and are influencing people to pick up the guitar because they're awesome players and even better composers. He was approached by these guys, and then he apparently said like, "Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm never going to do it again. Yeah, I know I did wrong. Blah blah blah. Please don't go public with it," because obviously that would destroy his business model. But he didn't. And then afterwards, he started like crediting, but like at the bottom of the description of the video, and like inspired by. Now, inspired by is a little bit different than just ripped off.
I've watched a few of the videos, and he's playing verbatim.
Yeah,
everything the original poster is doing.
Yes, and
if you line them up, it's perfectly timed. The phrasing is the same. He's not changing anything. He's playing the same exact thing.
Yes.
It wouldn't be, in my opinion, it wouldn't be that big of a deal if he was like, hey, I'm doing a cover of this guy who only has, well, as the thumbnail here indicates, doing this cover of this guy who only has 57 views. Let's give him more views and let's try to get his subscriber rate up. Let's be generous with our time, and I'm going to try to get this guy on my podcast. If that was the approach, I have no fucking word to say about that. That's awesome.
No, that's
like
amazing.
You're showcasing,
yes.
Yeah, you're showcasing what someone else did. You're being appreciative of their talent, their time, their composition, the whole thing. Like, you're not kissing ass. You just like genuinely appreciate someone who you think deserves to have more viewers, more followers. This is not what this guy's doing. He's doing something very different. He's taking someone else's work and pretending it's his.
And then he's making, really and then the worst part is, like, I agree with you. And I even go one step further. I'm like, even if, okay, I see someone playing great, I want to play the same thing, and I'm actually covering that person's arrangement and that person's song, and I'm covering it, and then everybody's gonna like me and follow me on social media and whatnot. All fine with me. The issue is that he was actually selling tabs of those songs and selling them as his own. That's the thing. So he was making money off of other people's work, and it doesn't even stop there. He actually also, he had the signature model with, and I said had because when all this came out 2 or 3 days ago, D'Angelico took the whole thing off. Like, this thing is not visible on the website anymore. Not his artist profile, and definitely not his signature model. Anderton's deleted the video that they just had recorded around the same time this whole broke out. Fender has unlisted the interview they did with him. Like, all the people that used to work with him, they're going away, you know. So that's like, and this is because this guy called Danny Sapko is a Scottish guy. He kind of I play bass. Yeah, he's funny, and he's actually known for doing hilarious. He's actually known for doing like more funny, more entertaining stuff. But he felt that it was absolutely time to talk about this because there's so many people that have been ripped off by this guy. And then actually yesterday he came out with another video where things get even worse. Apparently this guy was taking instruments and gear, like free shit, from different companies in return for videos, which makes sense because, you know, if you have that sort of exposure where an Instagram video that is like a minute long can reach up to, 2 million, 3 million, 4 million people. Obviously, as a company, you want to get involved and, tap into that person's audience. And what happens is they send him the stuff in exchange for a few videos. He makes one 30-second video and then he sells the fucking instrument. Where it's like, what the fuck, man?
Let's do something. We're going to add a little bit more meat to the bone because at face value, I think anyone who's not into the whole YouTube thing might not understand how this business actually works when it comes to sending out gear to YouTubers.
Yeah.
So I think the one thing people might be surprised with is that we work on the honor, like the gentleman's system, right?
Yes.
You send me a pedal, you're like, you can do a video for me? Sure. There's no guarantee. Like, you send this pedal, you're putting the first thing up front is your trust.
Yes.
Because you hope I'm an honest person, and you hope that we can develop a relationship where you don't have to fucking worry about it. If you send me something, I'm going to make a video, it's going to be the best I can produce. And the same thing for everybody else you send your products out to.
Yes.
So if you send me a guitar that's worth $2,500 and via email, we exchange that, there's going to be videos of, like, let's say 30 videos made with that one instrument, and you agree to it, you cannot hold that person responsible because, one, you're in different countries. So trying to bring this to court is one thing, and there's no contracts. You just agreed via email.
Yeah.
So your recourses as a business are basically zero, nothing. There's a lot of businesses who do, they do business. I mean, I ran myself into a corner with that one, but there's a lot of businesses who work with influencers and they work on the honor system. I'm sending this to you and I hope you're going to do it. Now, if a guy comes around like this, he can fuck everything up for everybody else because now businesses are going to be going, oh, wait a minute. We want to give this guy a signature product, but we're going to have to go and analyze all like the fucking videos he's ever made to make sure we don't get ourselves into a pickle like this particular incident. It really fucking sucks for businesses who are trying to still work on the honor system with influencers because they get views out of it. But the influencer rocking out with your guitar who does one video turns around, sells the fucking thing, and he agreed with you that, he would be doing multiple videos. He just breached your trust. He just went against your agreement, and you have zero recourses. So that small business that made that killer guitar for him, they're shit out of luck. There's nothing they can do. I think that kind of behavior is not the norm. It's really an exception. But because of his following, now it's sticking out like a sore thumb. And everyone's going to be really second guessing themselves from now on going, shit, should we have a better protocol now with guys like that? Like if we send them a guitar, like there's a down payment of 500, and like if you do the 30 videos, I'll give you back your 500. Like, fuck, that might change the landscape for businesses.
And it gets worse because obviously, so this guy then came up with an apology video on his YouTube channel, which there's no apology in there. He's just like he's essentially justifying with like poor explanations what happened, and that he didn't mean disrespect to anyone, blah 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 blah. But also he didn't come up with a plan to compensate all the people that he stole from. You know, he has a tour schedule that goes almost. He's going on tour. This guy's going on tour with stuff that he didn't initially compose. So that's that.
Oh, wow.
Then, obviously, you know, once you open Pandora's box, you know, obviously all the other stuff also comes to light. The other thing they found is that, like, pretty much all of his videos were pre-recorded. So, and that's something that sometimes you do. Obviously, if you shoot a music video, you don't play that stuff live because you're shooting a video, and it's impossible, depending on the location where you are, to record a live sound from that. And also, you're making a video for the album edit of that song. You know, I get that, and there are also. Now, YouTubers, guitar YouTubers, that, you know, when they create music, they go to an amazing place to shoot the video, and that's fine. That's totally fine. But this guy, like, was selling himself as the cool guy who jams with his friends, and, you know, it's all recorded while they're filming, which wasn't the case. It was all mimicking. You know, it was all pre-recorded. They found like weird bendings that he didn't play. They found other stuff where he was like using the whammy bar that where the guitar didn't even have a whammy bar. So, like super, like, yeah, it's super weird stuff. So you have a guy, and then they kind of they looked at that, and then they looked at some live performances where he wasn't even close to being able to play that stuff. And that's where you go, okay. The whole thing gets worse for me because right now he's getting a lot of hate, and he's not getting hate from people that have subscribed to his YouTube channel, because over the past couple of days, his YouTube stats have not changed. He still has the same amount of subscribers, which means the people who are commenting on the video giving him hate are people that weren't subscribed in the first place. They're just, you know, they're using this as a place, you know, to shit on someone's head, essentially. But the whole thing that makes it worse for me is, first, I'm taking your point. Manufacturers, brands, and like other people from the industry that want exposure through this sort of like marketing, influencers, YouTubers, social media stars, in quotes, they're going to rethink their strategy because they won't be sure if all of this is real. Which brings me to number 2. Everybody else into this, like reading this, hearing about this whole incident, is going to mistrust everybody else. Instantly. They're going to look at people playing guitar on social media like, is that real? You know, one of these like imposers, you know, imposters. So it's going to make things worse on so many levels, and it's wrong on so many levels, and it's just it's just a really sad story. And obviously this whole thing happened because the guy, he couldn't get enough. You know, it's very simple. Now, it wasn't enough that he had a signature model with a company that he was going on tour and whatnot. No, he had to post that stuff and stream it on Spotify and then sell tabs And then it's like, at what time don't you consider the possibility that the guy who wrote the original tune is going to come up to you and is like, hey, why the fuck are you, playing my tune and sending it as yours? It's
but
it's weird.
For anyone with like normal values, just genuinely good people, people don't think that way. People don't try to scheme other people out of money or steal from other people and try to profit from it. It takes a special kind of character to be able to pull that off and not have any qualms with it. For me, I can say that everyone I know that is doing the same thing I'm doing, which is being on social media and promoting products, that's what I do primarily. If you do anything that is anywhere near douchebag level, forget about working with certain companies. And even eventually, if it becomes viral and everyone figures out that you're just a liar, a piece of shit, and a manipulator, people are not going to want to work with you. And then you're done. You're out of that business. You might as well reinvent yourself because you're done with this part. And that trust is true of any place you're going to go, whether it's just regular business or meeting someone new for the first time. It's really hard to build trust, especially in this business. And a lot of times, like if you want to start a YouTube channel and you reach out to FFX Pedals and you say, hey, I want to do a demo of that one pedal. The first thing you're going to do as a business and go, well, what's his reach? You're going to go look at the YouTube channel. If you say, you got 23 subscribers, I'm sorry, that makes no sense for me.
No.
You got 500. Okay, you're getting there, but you got 20 videos. The last one you posted was 6 months ago. So you're not doing this seriously. If you're reached out, or someone else reaches out to you and they got 1.23 subscribers, 1.23 thousand subscribers, and they got 150 videos and they keep coming out all the time. You see, they work with smaller businesses. Now you're going, okay, this person is starting to have, the respect of people. People are going to trust him because he's posting constantly. Seems like a genuine person. The email has given me the impression I can do business with this guy. You send the pedal out, like let's say it's a $250 pedal. The person does the demo. They reach out to you. They go, hey, it's up. You can share it anywhere you want. It was a pleasure doing business with you. If any time you want to send something out to me, it would be a pleasure doing it. I don't charge right now because my YouTube channel is small. You're going to go, okay, I like this guy. I might you don't have to like his video or his style, but you like the person. You go, this person comes across as genuine, professional, honest. If someone else comes in and goes, I got 250,000 subscribers, send me shit. You're going to be like, why? Why have you got? Because, I'll put you on the map. I don't think so, dude. That's not how this works. There needs to be a rapport there. We need to build trust. But there's some companies who are so fucking desperate to get their name out there. They're going to chuck this shit at anyone who'll take it. Yeah. And that's where you maybe get someone like him who goes, you got a guitar? Fuck, yeah, send it my way. They have no intention of being, honest with you and really respecting the agreement that you had. This guy takes the guitar, does the one video, fucking sells it, and there you go. Yeah. I think it has to be within you to be like that, just at large with everybody. And I don't think it's just because he's, trying to get clout or, be famous or whatever. I think this guy's just trying to speed the process to the top. And as you just alluded to, it seems like his audience isn't holding him accountable. So either they are making excuses for him or they're not aware of the situation. In either case, at some point when his audience gets word of this, are they going to trust him blindly? And if they do, they're the worse off for it. You can't really do anything about it. If they choose to say, well, he was allowed to sell this guitar. Why? He made an agreement with the builder and he did not respect it.
And also the companies, those companies, after the second video that came out from the Scottish guy, the companies actually... On bass, I'm playing bass. The some of the companies actually commented on the video, like Bomb Guitars from Denmark, for example. That they said, yeah, we sent him a $1,600 instrument, and we agreed on a couple of videos and even thought about a long-term deal. And we never saw the instrument back, and he did like a 30-second video with it. And afterwards, at some point, he said, he kind of said, no, I'm going to, you're going to speak with my manager from now on. And then at that point, they were like, okay, we're not seeing this guitar again. And other companies also chimed in as well, said the same thing. So it's like, it's not great. And the thing that I care the most about is the fact that there's some amazing guitar players out there who struggle to get like people together that watch the YouTube videos, that watch the Instagram shorts and whatnot, and all these things. And then this guy comes around, and just because he makes it look easy and funky, and he, the concept wasn't too bad, obviously, because he was like choosing different locations, and they were like outside, and so marketing wise, it was clever what he did. The problem is it wasn't his own compositions. that's
massive. It's massive because you and I both know that writing a song is a lot of work. Writing a great song is quite a process.
Yeah.
And then you put it out there and you get crickets. People don't give a shit.
Yeah. People don't give a shit.
But then the marketing is really hard on music. So there's, besides the skill of the guitar player, I think the more important aspect of this is having a great composer who writes a killer song and that people listen to and they go, holy fuck, that's amazing. I love this song.
Yeah.
Enough to buy the song off of Spotify or buying a CD from the musician. But the original composer composes the music and has someone steal their intellectual property, make a significant amount of money from it, and they get nothing out of it. Mm-hmm. So it's their fucking song. They wrote it, but this other person is making money off of it, and they get the validation, which is just kind of like the knife twisting in the wound, is they see that the song is a hit. Other people love it. They just didn't love it from him or her, but they'll love it from that other person who has a huge audience. Yep. I mean, that's gotta fucking suck. Like, that's gotta be the worst.
There was one case where the guy who was ripped off of his composition actually reached out to the guy and didn't get any sort of feedback back, and was like so frustrated that he didn't make videos for like 3 months or something. I say this is the kind of stuff that gets you that puts you into a depressive state as someone who tries to gain a reputation and a follower base on social media, and you come up with a great idea and people like it, but obviously it's difficult to appear because everybody's pissing in the same pool. Like thousands and hundreds of thousands of guys doing the same thing, playing guitar in front of a camera, and it's difficult to stick out. And then somebody else comes around and steals your arrangement, and because he's making it look funky and flashy, and they play in front of a big fountain in Rome, it becomes a hit. But it's not.
You have the one person who's the real artist making a great song, and you have this other individual who's really great at the marketing. So he steals the intellectual property from the one person, but has this great package deal to put it in front of an audience and has this great concept. Oh, where have I heard that before? Oh, maybe the entire fucking music industry is built like that. You got great composers and they have artists interpreting their song because they're too fucking ugly. No one's going to buy it from them, but they'll buy it from the new like 23-year-old who can dance and has the great looks and mediocre voice.
Yeah, but obviously that obviously doesn't justify the thing that I think is important here as a key takeaway. This is nothing new. I
No.
probably think this is happening on a daily basis. Somebody, ripping off ideas from someone who is not that famous, but these days it's easier to get called out because the world is way more connected, and people look at stuff and they're like, oh, but I know that tune. That's from somebody else's video. That's Jack Gardiner.
Yep.
Or that's who there's actually a list of people that in the video, like in Danny's video, there's a list of people that he mentioned that were ripped off of their arrangements. And
Do you remember, this might be like at least 3-4 years ago, Paul Davids had something very similar happen where he had written a song for I guess it was a guitar lesson he was doing on YouTube, and someone sampled his song, wrote a song, like sang over his music, and then sent him a fucking copyright strike.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, the level of douchebaggery here is just so salty.
That's just, that stuff's just evil. That's just like,
oh, fuck.
Damn it.
Yeah, because you work hard at doing this, trying to, build your own, your own reputation, try to get people to like what you do, and you have someone who tries to fast track the whole process by stealing from you. But obviously these people are not very smart because they don't understand that, as you just alluded to earlier, we're connected worldwide with social media now. We're all broadcasters. So if someone does you wrong, you can make a video, make it go viral, and then everyone knows this one fucking person did you wrong. And we live in cancel culture. It's really easy to get your whole reputation destroyed in like 0.3 seconds.
In an instant.
So why the fuck risk it?
Yeah,
this guy could write his own songs instead, but he doesn't. He steals it.
But history is full of people that at some point they decided to go a certain route, and they thought nobody would catch them. But the whole story got too big. Once it's too big, once there's too many eyes on the story. I mean, take a moment and step out of the music industry where this most likely happens on a daily basis. Remember Lance Armstrong?
Yep.
Comes back from cancer, wins the Tour de France 7 times. And like the story was just too big, and at some point people crack. People that are involved, they crack. And they cracked. And then at some point, he was facing the consequences for doping.
Yep.
Whereas people who are experts in the sport have seen it from the moment he came back, where he had a completely different physique, and he was going up mountains at speeds that were superhuman. Plus he was going up into into certain turns, and he had to brake uphill. Imagine that. You're going on a bike, you're going uphill, you're going up 7, 8, 9% steep hill, and then you're going so fast you have to brake in a corner, because otherwise you're going to fly out the corner uphill. So and that was the time where people were like, okay, this is bullshit. Everybody knows this bullshit. And that's but again, the story got too big. So and the bigger it gets, the more eyes are on it, the more, if you're cheating, the more you're going to get called out for it, especially in times like these where everything's more connected. The whole Lance Armstrong thing happened 15 years ago, where everything came out. The world was connected then. Now it's even more connected. So
let's try and end it with a positive spin.
Yes, please.
Let's say that we could give advice to what's his name?
Giacomo
Okay.
Turra.
Okay. So let's say he, for whatever reason, ended up watching this video. And instead of us calling him all sorts of names, we're just trying to look at the ethics of what he did. You personally, Frank, if you could give him advice on how he could change his ways to try to redeem himself, keep his audience, keep having the success, but make it up to the businesses, make it up to the people he wronged. What would be your advice? Like, what would you do if you could fix that? Do you think you could be redeemed from this? Do you think it's all black? We have to just get rid of him. Fuck this guy. Or do you think there could be a silver lining here?
I think it's going to be difficult for him to regain people's trust, for sure. And they're going to look at him 3 or 4 times whenever he's going to if he is actually thinking about resuming his career in music. People are going to look at it like very, very critically. They're going to look at every video 3 and 4 times and like reference if it's actually his own song or not. But in order to redeem this situation, and many suggestions have been made, and I'm fully aligned with these suggestions, is the first thing he needs to do, he needs to really apologize. Because this apology video was bullshit. There's no apology in there. It's just justification, and the decent thing to do would be to say, I'm aware of what I've done, and I'm sorry that I did it, and I'm going to make it right. And making it right, step number 2, is all the money that has been made that probably went into a nice apartment somewhere in Italy, and whatever he spent the money on, at least the money that's left, has to be paid in royalties to the people that made the original songs. That is making it right. And if there's a way to somehow also make it right with some of the companies that were involved, even better. And I think this guy, he can be lucky if some of those companies are not seeking redemption on a legal basis. I mean, the company that made a signature model for you has made a certain investment. Like Dan Jellicoe has invested some money in featuring this artist and making a signature model. And it's very possible that they're seeking legal action. And this guy is really lucky if they're not. And if they are, I mean, this could end really, really bad for him. So I think redemption, it can only be achieved by doing the right thing and paying the people that actually deserve the royalties from all the stuff that he's been selling and making money with, and being sincere about apologizing to everyone.
I agree with that. I agree. If I had to give him advice, like let's say I met him, had a beer with him and talked, my approach would be how I would do it if I had messed up the same way he's messed up. First would be to really analyze whether you feel guilty about what you did or not. If you don't feel guilty and you think it's okay to do what you're doing, an apology video is never going to come across as sincere because you don't start by being honest when you make the video because you don't feel bad about it. So if he does feel bad about it, the apology isn't to the whole world. It's to the people that he's done wrong. You know, it would be reaching out to those people, and not via text, but, you know, you give them a call. You have a video like this and you can tell them, look, you can record it. And if you feel like I'm being a douchebag, you can post it. You have my word like this. I'm being honest with you. Yeah. That approach might not fix everything, but at least the companies feel like you have remorse. You feel bad about what you've done. And you're not trying to be a sob story on the internet going, I'm sorry, man. When I was 5, my dad, he left my mom and I was raised in a single home. Like, not that type of shit, right? It's just like honest. Like, okay, look, this is what I thought I was doing. Yeah. And turns out I made a colossal mistake. Yes. And then you switch your direction. Instead of trying to be famous, just for the self gratification, you turn yourself around. You give the public time to digest everything you did, and then you change the content. You go, okay, this is what I did in the past. It was wrong. I admit it, but I'm trying to better the system. What was bad with the music industry. Now I'm going to try to show that even someone like myself can redeem not only my actions, but help other musicians. And then you make videos where you work with companies where you grab guitars and you give them to schools so that musicians, schools who don't have a music program, can get the instruments. You find a really cool way of helping people. That way, if there's a part of you that really needs this validation of being, on social media, you still get it, but now you're doing something good.
Yeah.
And you're not just doing something good for the views, you're actually doing something good for the music community. That way, I think people could forgive you. They go, okay, you admit that you fucked up, you were doing it on purpose, and now you realize that this is not the best way to flourish in the music community.
Yes.
Change, become better, try to find other people who fucked up and who are trying to make a change. Dude, no one's perfect. We all made stupid mistakes, and some of us make mistakes with a camera and a microphone in our face, and everybody gets to judge us. I want to be a good person and think that this guy might have just made a colossal fucking mistake, and maybe there's redemption there, but that's all up to him. I'm willing to look at him like he didn't hurt me, it didn't fucking hurt me, but it pisses me off to see that he could take advantage of other people.
Yeah.
And I don't like seeing that, but I think sometimes people have really poor judgment. They're very immature. He doesn't look like he's that old. So maybe it's in him. Maybe he's just that way and there's nothing that's ever going to change. Or maybe he could be the best fucking redemption story we've ever seen, where he comes out maybe next year and he's a completely changed person and he's doing good. I hope, I got my fingers crossed that there's still some good people out there.
Yeah.
But who fucking knows?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well. Okay. We're already at 1 hour and 40 minutes. So.
Oh, darn it.
Yeah. So let's close it at this point. And hopefully this whole thing gets a positive turnaround. I would like that.
And one more positive thing before we go. Mm-hmm. We're giving 2 pedals away.
Yeah, we have to remember that. So
we're giving them away.
We're giving them away, and next week, or next time we record, I suppose that's going to be next week. 2 names are going to be drawn from a randomizer, and then these people get the pedal. Thanks for everybody chiming in. Thanks for everybody listening or watching. We hope you enjoyed this episode as well as the others that you can obviously, walk through on the channel or on Spotify or whatever medium you're using to hear and watch podcasts. And we're going to see you very soon. Please don't forget to subscribe to the channel or follow us on Spotify. And hitting the bell icon definitely helps. It doesn't cost money, but it definitely helps us to grow this channel and get even cooler and bigger profile guests in here. With that being
100%.
said, until the next episode, we salute you.
Cheers.
Cheers.